Depression Baby. Stories about growing up in Appalachia and other things too. With my dad, Ray B. Rogers.
On August 16th, 1929, I came into this world kicking and screaming. I reckon that made me a depression baby.
Depression Baby is a World Songs media production, brought to you by Depression Baby the book, available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover, and now audiobook at raybrogers.com. Today, Ray explains why it was all Winston's fault.
The British High Command decided that it was inevitable that the Germans would defeat the armies of Britain, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And France fought a rearguard action to slow the German army as it flooded into their territory. The British were ordered to evacuate from the port at Dunkirk. Every form of floating watercraft headed across the English Channel on May 28, 1940, to rescue the trapped soldiers. As the Germans bombed, shelled, and strafed the fleeing men, many boats went down. The Brits pulled their comrades from the chilling waters and continued the retreat, planning to fight again another day. It was nothing short of a miracle that by May 31st, those 338,000 troops crossed the English Channel to the relative safety beyond the white cliffs of Dover. After the humiliating defeat, Winston Churchill stepped into the breach to bring the right words to rally the forces of the Western world. He faced reality on May 13th as he offered only blood, toil, tears, and sweat to his countrymen. On June 4th, he spoke to England, to the USA, to Germany, and the rest of the world. His voice had a guttural tone, and he was almost growling as the English bulldog delivered the message from his lair.
We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender.
As the Western world rallied to his words, he stated on June 18, 1940, that this was our finest hour. This 10-year-old boy heard Winston, and he understood, and the stage was set. Mrs. Kellett, my Latin teacher, long a fixture at Waynesville Township High School, sometimes tended to stray from the teaching of Latin into something akin to hero worship of the Romans. And so it came to pass that Mrs. Kellett stated that the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar was the greatest man who ever lived. Unknowingly, she had thrown down the gauntlet and challenged one of her students. I could not let this stand. I said something like this: No, Miss Kellett, Julius was not the greatest. Winston Churchill is the greatest. Then I began to lay out my case that Winston and his well-chosen words had saved the Western world. When Mrs. Kellett's face turned red and a few of my classmates began to snicker, I knew that I had stepped into something that would not bode well. My feelings were confirmed when the report cards came out. I got an F. My dad, a longtime teacher and school principal, viewed my report card and inquired about the F. I had never before received an F. I told him my story as he tried to hold his stern demeanor. Knowing Mrs. Kellett and her tendencies, he finally broke out laughing. And now, the rest of the story. I later enrolled in Mars Hill College, and they required completion of 2 years of foreign language. So to make up for the deficiency, I enrolled in a Spanish class. Well, for those of you who feel that life is not fair, it came to pass that I got the best-looking red-headed Spanish teacher north of the Rio Grande. Hey, I even enrolled in her Spanish club. Even though this little story has an undeserved happy ending, I still contend that it was all Winston's fault.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Depression Baby. And if you did, my dad has one important request. If this podcast brought a little smile to your day, would you please consider right now subscribing for free to the podcast and kindly leaving a nice 5-star rating and review on iTunes. You can make the difference in getting Depression Baby in front of a wider audience and help preserve this disappearing legacy. Also, you can get the entire audiobook of Depression Baby, the complete stories, for free at raybyrogers.com/audible. That's AUDIBLE. Thanks to our audio and musical contributors, including our friend Lobo Loco. You can find out more about him and all the rest of the music and audio in the show notes at, you guessed it, raybyrogers.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Depression Baby.